Welcome, everybody, to Boom Bat Bros podcast. We're glad to have you, and this week we're going to be discussing Nas King's Disease 2. And this is the follow-up to his album of the same name last year. And it is his second collaboration with Hit Boy, the producer here. So last year it came out on August 21st, and then this year he released the follow-up King's Disease 2 on August 6th. And it was actually a Grammy award-winning album, believe it or not, last year. And this is from Nas. His career has been something that's been long and storied, but he's coming back and following that up. So this week we're going to review it. But before we get into it, my name is Pat G at PatG563, and I've got my co-host here, my brother Alec. What's going on, Al?
Hey, how's it going? Pretty good here. Just got moved into college, so having fun recording this first podcast here out remotely.
Yeah, it's been a change of pace. I've been spoiled to have you in the studio here with me and able to, work on it together and pass some of the reins off to you for the live switching. So now I'm back to doing that here and doing some of that live editing here as we go along and talk about stuff. So yeah, it'll be a little bit of a different process, but we don't talk too meta about the production on this show either, but that's just a little tidbit for those interested. So yeah, Alec, you'll be remote now and off at school here. This is your last year of college.
Yeah, excited to get through it. Well, and I'm excited especially for this album here today. Because we got one of the OGs.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a good timing, I feel like, with all of the different albums that have been coming out this year. Finally, artists are dropping again, and Nas follows up his really, critically acclaimed by artists and fans alike album. And I'm just super excited to talk about it. And I already sort of gave a bit of an intro earlier, but just what I was saying is it was dropped last year on August 21st. And I don't know about you, but I was listening to it a lot back then. Being a fan of hip hop, you sort of need to pay respect to the greats. Nas, Jay-Z, Biggie, Tupac. I feel like those guys are all in the same conversation together as, greatest rappers of all time or just people's favorites specifically. So got to pay respect. And I had listened to a lot of his older work and become familiar with him. And then once King's Disease had come out, I had been listening to his music for a couple of years at that point and knew that it wouldn't disappoint. And Hit Boy, on the production side of things, did not disappoint at all. And he actually ended up getting his first Grammy win off of that, where you'd think that Nas, dropping music from the early to mid 90s that has been in the popular sphere in hip hop, you'd think that he would be getting awards and Grammys specifically, but he's been nominated before and now is a Grammy award winning artist with King's Disease from 2020, and then he's following it up this year. So Al, I just am curious about your relationship listening to Nas, if you're very aware of him or anything like that before going into this album.
Yeah, so I've always had a decent amount of awareness of him, like just in being a fan of hip hop in general. And I'd listened to some of his older stuff, but I hadn't delved too deep into his catalog before. But I've been working my way through it. I've been able to get from Illmatic, which I've heard the most out of any of his stuff. That's regarded as an all-time classic. So he's been good from the jump. And I've listened through that all the way up through Stillmatic. So I've gotten his 90s covered, but there's still a lot from the 2000s I haven't listened to. And then I've been listening to the new King's Disease albums then since he's came back with these. And the first one, it was a really stacked year, especially there was a lot of good rap albums that came out that year, but it was definitely deserving of the rap album of the year, which is a lot considering the competition that was there that year. And this one I think is living right up to the expectations set with that one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was at first a little bit worried that maybe this wouldn't follow up as well or be as great as the first, especially because it did have that going for it with, it being a Grammy award winning album. So it was I was just happy in general to hear that it was announced. It was sort of like nonchalantly announced quickly before the release date, just a week before. And the video for Rare actually ended up coming out the day before the release on August 5th, before the
Ooh.
album release on August 6th. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video here for Rare. So this was actually not the track that I expected him doing a video for. After I caught this video actually after a couple of listens through on the album, and this was not the track specifically I figured he would do a video for. There haven't been any other videos thus far, but this one has a lot of different beat switches and different parts to it, and like you can see here, it's a 5-minute video, so there's quite a bit to pick through, but you can pretty much see at the beginning here, he's just in an apartment, and there's a woman there, of course, and talking about different things, and it skips forward to him. I really enjoyed this shot here, rapping in the hallway and just going through the track with a super fisheye lens, rapping in the hallway, just talking about what he's talking about on this track. We'll get into it once we get there in the track listing, but then later the beat switches up and it actually moves to outside where it's more like a posse cut type of video, and there's all this different imagery and stuff throughout from Nas's history and his neighborhood, and I like the contrast between black and white and color. They use that really well throughout, I feel like, just sort of switching back and forth. And they even had a couple of spots here where they like took some pictures and edited them in at the end. I thought that was super cool. But what thoughts do you have about this video, Al? I'm not sure if you caught this because it was sort of released just as quick as the album.
Yeah, no, I hadn't seen this. But just from seeing like the clips through from the images here, like this is really like artistic. I like what they did with this. Like I'm excited to check it out with like seeing it all the way through and hearing the music and everything on there.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll just go ahead and move right into the track listing then, where we can just talk about each track individually. So we'll just start it off with The Pressure. And the intro track on the first King's Disease was the title King's Disease, and I thought that track specifically was one of my favorites on that album. Just that intro was amazing, and this intro didn't disappoint at all. I thought it was just super good to go ahead and introduce into the album, and the refrain, God's Son Across the Belly, really hit, especially after the beat switch, and Hit Boy is just firing on all cylinders here. Like he is showing off and really like expressing himself to the fullest with all these different beat switches, and the production's really layered. So if you're into production like this, you have a lot to study here with this album just from the get-go.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that on here. Like I agree the God's Son Across the Belly part, that was really catchy. It was like 3 times you brought that up throughout there, and it was like, oh, like especially the last one, like you were saying, after the beat switch, it sounded cool when you brought it back then. And like especially that beat switch moment when it goes over, that was another really cool like little spot in this song. But overall, yeah, I'm like from front to back on here, I'm just amazed at Hit Boy's production. He killed it on here, and this is definitely a good one to start off with. And Nas is like always like in here with the bars like we're expecting from him, and it's just a crazy combo that these two like pull off.
Yeah, for sure. Any bars on here we can highlight? There's so many to choose from. I mean, cops brutalizing kids, I see it too steadily. Correctional facilities never do it correctly. My main statement is this whole game is triangulated. Little versions of who? There's no replacement. And so he's coming from, I think King's Disease gives him a lot to play with. Like that theme specifically definitely makes sense that there's been 2 albums worth of tracks from it, but it gives him a lot of reverence for the game and respect where he's coming from and what other people are trying to do, what he's done. He's inspired the youth, so he's sort of trying to come back and give advice about what he's learned. So I think there's a lot that he can do, and this intro track, The Pressure, just really shows where we're gonna go. Embrace the pressure.
Yeah, and the bar on there, the miles on my Peloton. Like I just love when he throws and stuff like that, because like he still makes it sound cool, even though he's like rapping about being on a Peloton, like being like middle aged and still having to like work out to like keep his shape up.
He can do it.
But like he makes it sound cool still because he's Nas.
If anybody could do it, it would be Nas to do it.
Yeah, so that was a really good intro to start off. And going into the next track here, Death Row East was one of my favorites on here. Like I've got several favorites littered throughout here because I was really impressed. But Death Row East, starting it off, I feel like Hit Boy really just tossed up an amazing beat on here, and Nas just like cooks it all up, and like the whole like part where he's just going back with the let's talk about it, and he's just spitting facts throughout the whole verse. It's just he kills it on here, and it's just keeping the roll going.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is just infectious from the get-go, and it's made even better by Nas's commentary on the track. He just elevates any beat he gets on, and Hit Boy's beats are already amazing, so they really are a deadly combination. But I appreciated Nas's point of view here as he's sort of looking back and saying, let's talk about it instead of have this feud. Let's work it through. We're the smartest, not the loudest. We're not just loudmouths that we're able to talk enough and rap enough to get on stage and make money. We're the smartest. We're business people. We were able to calculate and make decisions that we were successful. So he's sort of saying, let's work through these issues. There's no need for violence. And that's what it's really alluding to here, is that he had gone to see Tupac and wanted to squash the beef and work together and actually establish something. And that's also what the title is alluding to as well, Death Row East. Instead of them being based in the West, having the ally on the East in Nas could have allowed them to grow out there, but then Tupac was sadly taken. So I think that this track overall is just really just welcome.
Terrible timing.
Well, yeah, it was just awful timing, and they weren't able to squash the beef in time. But I think this just goes to show that Nas has a lot of lyrical stuff that he can play with, like look back on different situations, because he's been through a lot in the game. And I mean, it really goes to show that rap has no age. Like you can still drop dope storytelling tracks, like recalling memories and stuff way into your 40s even. So I think this was just a dope second track for sure.
Yeah, it was a really good one here. Like, gosh, especially this beginning stretch of songs here. There is a lot of slappers.
Yeah,
like
sure.
It comes off the right off the top, just going through every single one.
Yeah, this chorus is so good on here. But then this second verse, he's really spitting. We was trying to squash the whole shit in Vegas. No media to eat it up and leak it in the papers. Yeah, and saying Suge, he was a dangerous threat. MOB almost turned half of New York red. Brothers I grew up with threw up they sets. Some even had they death row chains hanging off their necks. There was a rumor that spread I'd like to address. Pac was never set up by Stretch. Let it rest. So this is him sort of declaring that Stretch, who was a friend of Tupac's, he was alleged of setting up the shooting, but Nas is sort of declaring, no, that this rumor is false. I stepped to him at Bryant Park so we could speak direct. He didn't disrespect. We planned to reconnect. And so, yeah, I think this track was one of my personal favorites, because who better than Nas to give us some insight and more to talk about, and just a really cool perspective that I appreciated.
Yeah, it was really cool to get a look in on the history here for sure.
Yeah, so we move on to track 3, 40 side, and this is more of a contemporary style beat than the last two, and it's sort of a trap style as well. So it's Nas going to not necessarily unknown places. He's rapped on stuff like this in the first King's Disease and previously as the style has become more popular, but 40 side shows him finding a really cool pocket and just going in with some bars, spitting. And I really like the for real sound that highlighted it. But man, if it didn't make me think that
Yeah,
Lil Baby was going to come in and feature there. But I'm glad that they still use that audio part. But what'd you think about this song, track 3, 40 side?
yeah, I thought it was really, yeah, I thought this one was really cool on here. How he really came in on this definite like Migos type, or like pretty much any type of new style Atlanta based like rapper like type beat, and he just slays it better than most of them like can. Like there's some that like are really great in that type. Like he showed that like him coming from the lyrical sphere is able to like work that just as well. And I love the part where he's going, he's like OG talk, and then he's just like spitting it because like the whole way he knows he's like giving down the advice here, dispersing wisdom to the younger generation. He's kind of like rap's uncle, and he like knows what he's doing the whole time. It's awesome.
Yeah, I got to show you some bars here that I specifically really liked when he was saying, "Ain't no pity party for yourself. You got to get up, rise for your wealth. Can't spend all that time in your feelings trying to sympathize with yourself. For real, for real. Don't nobody owe you. Ain't nobody holding you back. You stuck in illusions attached to something that even ain't even that." So this advice was really just telling people to not feel too sorry for yourself and get back up and work on it again. I mean, you're stuck on things that aren't even real, like you're making it out to be more than it is. So just move on and you can do it. So I think that's really good
Hmm.
advice coming from Nas. And yeah, OG Talk, Project Calls, that for the chorus was
Yeah.
dope. And then he's
Hmm.
actually talking about the Grammy here a little bit. They finally gave Nas a Grammy, just front me the gold. That wasn't the goal. First clip was a warning shot. We spinning back up the road. Through the burrows, pull up our rolls, empty this and reload. For real, for real. So he's saying, yeah, it wasn't the goal for the first King's Disease to get me a Grammy. It wasn't bait or anything like that. It was just trying to put out good music and contribute to the sphere of hip hop. So I respect that for sure. And obviously, the Grammys are a flawed institution. I think they're making
Hmm.
some positive changes, but in the past, they've definitely missed the mark quite a bit.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten turned off types of like award shows like that. I don't really watch any of that anymore.
Oh, really? Nothing like that you're interested in anymore?
No, yeah, I don't watch the Grammys, don't watch the Oscars, Golden Globes. I don't check any of it out anymore. Like I'll like look on Twitter, see who won, but like I don't watch the shows at all.
Damn. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. I still tune in or watch the highlights. I still catch stuff just because it's interesting, but um, yeah, I feel like I'm sort of
Hmm.
weaning off it as well because it's really just wealthy people that have rigged the institution to get there, celebrating that they may or may not get this thing that'll tell them they're good or not.
Yeah, I think it's just a whole weird setup. Yeah, but back to the album though. The next track we got coming up here, we have EPMD 2, which was a really anticipated song. Like once the track listing and everything became known, because there's Eminem on here with Nas. And is this their first collaboration ever? Like both of them rapping on the same song?
I'm not sure, but I know that Nas is one of Eminem's heroes. Like he even like that's how big of an OG Nas is. Nas predates
Hmm.
Eminem and is an influence of his. And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure if the two have ever had collaborations in the past, but it's really cool to see them now that they're so far from. I don't know if you want to say their peak as commercial artists or things like that, but I just think this is a really unique point for them to link up and make a track together. And obviously, they've got EPMD on here as well, following up the original
Hmm.
EPMD track from Nas. So, yeah, I mean, this is just super dope and real rap stuff. And how they switch in between the verses, it's super good. And then M
Oh
just kills
yeah.
it at the end. His verse is pretty long, but we'll take a look at it here. But yeah, I mean, how'd you like this track? I
Mhm.
thought that it lived up to the hype for sure.
Oh yeah, I thought every single artist on here like shined their own light. Loved how it came in. And I was like, respectfully, like where he like set that up before he just slaughtered the beat going in there. He threw the respectfully at the beginning. I
He had
loved how
to
he did
because
that,
he had to
and the
let people
whole
know.
Nas and EPMD. Yeah, and then Nas and EPMD going back and forth. That was tight. Um, and like yeah, like I love all the time verses where you got like multiple rappers like going back and forth, like sharing lines and stuff like that. Like those are some of my favorites. Then Eminem comes in after that, and he just lights it up too, and like has so many different flows and like cadences that he gets into on there. Like that was one of the best verses I've heard from him in a little bit. So it's definitely welcome to see all of them coming together like that.
I really liked when they said here, "Fuck a stimulus, give me some interest, give
And
me a
especially at
loan,
that.
give me a home, give me that land you owe me so I can roam." Yeah, I thought that was dope.
Mhm. Yeah, and then the ending part where Eminem is like giving a tribute to all the like recently deceased like artists was really cool on there too.
Yeah, he's just going in here and I mean, just look at some of these bars. I feel like Eminem needs to be talked about in uh not necessarily a different category, but he is very like his emphasis is on the rhyming of syllables and making sure that it's sort of ludicrous in nature but very much like a chain of rhymes and how he delivers it. And so I feel like it's not for
Hmm.
everyone, of course. I don't think everyone's gonna enjoy Eminem's delivery and think that it's as great as Nas's, for example, because I mean Nas has just one of those classic flows. But you could make a case that it's super impressive and just a very skillful delivery that Eminem has captured, and he's just showing off here and talking about tons of different stuff, like Rudolph and his homies when they pulling the sleigh. Yeah, that's a lot of bucks flying when I'm making it rain, dear. Green on me, but no weed, shorty. Just
Yeah.
these, darling. A pocket full of pills. Some are Tylenol threes, probably two or three Molly. And so he's just chaining all of these things together to say some really dense stuff. If you care to unpack it, and so we're not going to go too far into Eminem because I feel like he's just on another level. If you like him, you're definitely gonna look into everything and make sure you understand it. But it just ends super cool after Eminem just goes off there with Nas just looping back the chorus again. But yeah, here's what you were talking about here. Um, and my names with the Canes and the Waynes and the Jays and the Dreys and the Yays and the Drakes and the J Dillas, Jadas, Cool J's and the Raz, and amazing as Nas's, and praise to the gods of this. Shout out to the golden age of hip hop, and the name of the song is EPMD. We back in business. So that was just a really cool chain that he ended his verse off with, and pretty much ended the song off with. So I really enjoyed this one, and it just made the listen through like I was so much more excited to keep going.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Here, like that, definitely like half of the song, basic, and like through here, back to back, that's getting picked up and carried through, and I'm just like really impressed so far.
Next is track 5, Rare, and I thought this one, accompanying with the video, was super smooth, and I think the concept was executed really well with the video and how the beat changes and the what we're looking at changes there. And I think the idea and concept here was really solid. And Nas just keeps striking gold with concepts. I feel like he could come up with things to write about for days and days and just be a great storyteller at all of them for the most part. and it switches up to some old school type drums, and then comes in again with some harder stuff and sort of pivots in and out. I think Hit Boy really should be appreciated here for how his production is so layered and varied, and especially in hip hop where there's a lot of
Hmm.
repeating of drums, and the percussion can overcome a lot of different things, and there's samples that are obviously looping, and things like that. I think it's supposed to be really appreciated and acknowledged, especially just because I like it. I mean, that's why I'm talking about it here and so passionate about, this album
Hmm.
in particular. It's just super great production that keeps the listener on their toes and keeps you wanting more and on the edge of your seat. And Hit Boy really killed this, and Rare is a super dope track. I keep wanting to say that this is one of my favorites, but I have so many favorites, it feels like, for this album in general. But how'd you like this one?
Yeah, I think this was definitely like I feel the same way. Definitely one of my favorites again on here. And I thought, I guess, that Nas gets into some really cool like lyrical pockets in here with like mixing the word rare back in there repeatedly. And yeah, it's just an insane, like really cool beat. And I love the little like shallow crowd like ohs in the background that are like subtle there. And it was a really cool switch to like the mellow drum type beat on the next part on there. So I thought, yeah, just everything on the song is working at top gear again. Like it just keeps going and going.
Yeah, for sure. It actually has it sectioned out into parts on the Genius here, and so you see part one has the I'm in rare form.
Oh,
I speak down on my name like I wasn't there for him. Talk about back in the days. This isn't back in the days. They want me back in my ways. Chip tooth and the fade, and then he just goes on in. And so this is just part one, and then it switches up to part two, when the beat goes into more of like a classic type hip hop.
okay.
And it has this verse here, and then as it says that Hit Boy right before the drums hit again, and so that's when part
Mhm.
three technically is with a third verse there. And I just think overall this one
Okay.
shows both collaborators on the top of their game, and the video just elevates that, I think. And I'm hopefully we're gonna get more videos, because there are 15 tracks here, so I'd be surprised if they only did one. But yeah, this was a dope first video, and I really enjoyed this track for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This one really slapped. Like just every single aspect about it was working in harmony. And I feel like that was continued in number six here, YKTV, which had some really cool features on here. Like this one, Nas is coming in again on like another newer like Migos type beat, or like any of the newer rappers, and then he's got a Boogie with the Hoodie on here, and both the rappers are bringing great energy. It's a really interesting mix of how their flows work together, and it just like is a very good sonic mix. And even with YG coming on at the end there, I like the funny little intro between him coming in, and then he does this thing on there too. And so like I'm a fan of YG. Haven't heard too much of Boogie, but like he does great on here. And yeah, overall, I thought it was like a really cool track.
Yeah, I think this one was pretty good, but not one of my favorites out of the entire album. I think Nas still delivered some dope lines, and the features held up. But I mean, I think YG's music's pretty good. I'm not that big a fan of A Boogie, but I enjoy his guest features every once in a while. I just don't really listen to his solo music. But both delivered on this track and came together to make something fun. But I just wasn't the biggest fan of like the chorus or much of what was going on here other than the features. But let's go ahead and look at the lyrics here. So the chorus: every time I pop out, I pop off. YKTV got the top off.
Cool.
And so let's read this annotation on
Dang, you
YKTV.
didn't like that hook? I thought that really
It was
slapped.
all
That
right, and
pop
the
out, pop
production sort
off.
of low keyed there and highlighted it, but it just wasn't my favorite from the whole album. And this actually an acronym for "You Know
Hmm.
the Vibes," where Nas says the full phrase in the outro of the
Yeah,
song. Um, so just talking about Godson, they call me Son, ain't no sun in me. Ran 100 M's, I'm running things. I thought this was worth mentioning. Imagine Lil Uzi on a Primo beat. Imagine NAS on Amigo beat. Hip hop
yeah,
culture. Henny on coasters. Watching 100-inch
yeah.
screen. Seeing who's sitting with Oprah. Black Phantoms. Women coming in tandems. Bags and Landvin. She playing. She don't get abandoned. Praying she don't get abandoned. So he's doing a little bit of industry commentary here. But yeah, we get that verse from Nas, and then A Boogie with the Hoodie comes in, and just sort of having a good time doing his thing. This is a decent bar. Been jacking Esco bars like he Pablo, huh? Put my tip inside her walls like she was hollow,
Hmm.
huh? And then yeah, they're sort of doing the chorus there together before I thought this was silly. I didn't really enjoy this interlude, and they had it at the beginning of the track as well. Hi, I'm Peter Popoff, and it's about a pop off. I just thought that was like cringe, and I know it's
Yeah,
supposed to be funny, but
I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was funny.
and then YG comes in with his pretty much signature flow and just talking about his lifestyle and what he's doing, and I didn't really like that he said I just ran a money play with Scooter Braun because Scooter Braun's the dude that cut Taylor Swift off from her masters, wouldn't sell them to her, so she's been re-recording and re-releasing all her
Oh
music.
shit.
And he's also an investor in esports organization 100 Thieves, which I actually do sort of like, but Scooter Braun's just sort of a questionable figure, and YG's chilling with him and advocating for him.
Mm.
But yeah, he says, you know the vibes at the end of the track. But this wasn't one of my favorites. I thought it was decent, and it was definitely more like a radio type song, like definitely with the features too.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm glad that you liked it. I don't think there has been a miss thus far. This just personally isn't what I'm looking for Nas.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I think well, it's sandwiched between two really good ones on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's like solid with the features and everything, but the ones like right next to it are some pretty like top tier ones.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into track number 7, Store Run. And I thought this was another great concept. Like I said, Nas really has a knack for creating and naming tracks and getting a theme put together that are really interesting and you can write a lot about. And so the scene is set where he's relaxing, sort of giving advice from that
Hmm.
um, perspective that we've been seeing from him on King's Disease here. And he's addressing a young man who's going to go out into the city. And I thought this one was really cool with how it sort of continued the vibe of you're just relaxing with Nas. He's sort of enjoying his luxury and wealth and giving you advice for how to sort of maintain where you're at and come up hopefully. And I think that's a really good point of view that Nas can continue to rap from. But how'd you like this one?
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. Like I was saying, this is one of my favorites from like the front seven here. And I thought the part of the beat was the audio sample remix in there, where it's like really soulful, like how it's all scratched up in there. And Nas really flexed his lyrical skills all over this thing. I like agree with you. I totally love the concept of like giving down advice like that he did on there. And yeah, it was definitely one of my favorites so far. I think this one and the fifth track, Rare, and probably Death Row East. Those three are like the ones that have stuck out the most to me so far. And like EPMD is like close there too because that one was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I like how he starts his verse here. My thumb struck a lot of lighters, pulled a lot of all-nighters, banned from some after-hours spots. My crew would choose violence, move in silence. Who knew I grew to build an empire? Uh, and I mean, he's got some bars after that as well.
Hmm.
And here's the second verse. Yo, as I'm looking at the New York skyline, reminiscing on nighttime, shootouts with my guys, pouring this white wine. You could Richard Mille your left wrist, keep in perspective, we on God's time. So let's read this. Richard Mille is an expensive watch collector costing up to $1 million. Nas
Hmm.
uses the Mille as $1 million on his wristwatch by basically saying that no matter what we acquire in life, we all die. God's time. And then it says the world is yours, obviously, referencing the Nas track from Illmatic. So, yeah, this is just a
Hmm.
dope one. And on the third verse here, I got the hood playing golf, wild boss style. Crucifixes over the chrome hearts, you get crossed out. People battered down, Asian hate getting passed around. Tiger happy, both his parents' lives matter now. And so I thought that commentary on Tiger with how there have been uptick in crimes against Asian people this year, specifically as anti-Asian hate and sentiment has sadly grown with some bigoted people in the United States specifically. So Tiger
Hmm.
obviously is of mixed ethnicity, and obviously Black Lives Matter is a very prominent movement over the past few years, and so the commentary here pretty much is that Asian lives and Black lives are now being, valued and highlighted. That we need to stop harassment and stop racism for against both groups. And I thought that was just a great bar to
Hmm.
round out this track.
Yeah, and from there, we get into another really cool concept song from Nas here with Moments, where I feel like he filled out this beat perfectly. Like, Hit Boy had another really cool one on here, and this beat was just begging for Nas to come through on, uh, like, really the whole thing on here where he's like going back into like specific moments, looking back at memories. Like, this is a really um reflective type beat, like looking back type of like memory lane stuff. So I feel like Nas like knew the assignment, got it done perfectly in a way that only he can, and he just did great on here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is again one of my favorite tracks. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here eventually, but yeah,
Hmm.
I think this one is Nas at his peak,
Yeah.
reminiscing and being able to speak on all these different topics. And the beat's amazing. Like this is something that I would choose for my own music. Like that. This is just one of those beats where you could just
Hmm.
write all day to it and just have like 10 really great verses that you have to choose between to actually put on wax and release.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the lyrics on here, Moments. And so he just starts it off. I never met Muhammad Ali. Wish I did. My brother saw him. Champ told him nothing is real. Gave him me the chills. Thought about it. That's how I feel. We on autopilot. No captain behind the wheel. So Champ told him nothing is real, and then he's saying, "Wow, that advice really hit me." Sometimes we're on autopilot, just making decisions and doing things without much, um, you know, afterthought or consideration. No captain behind the wheel. My whole career, I steered away from features, but I figured it's perfect
Hmm.
timing to embrace new leaders. So, saying that he's going to hear outside perspectives other than his own and get more features on his work now that King's Disease has been a successful series for him now of albums. He's gotten features on here as well that are really good and impressive. So, he's not lying there at all,
Hmm.
and accepted my position as the master teacher. I make cash deposits before the first. Flashy diamonds, that's waterworks. Sassy models, the curviest. Brothers you knew from the sandbox will do you dirtiest. So he's saying that his position as the master teacher, he's one that has to pass on game to the new people getting in. And you can see we talked about that perspective already on this album,
Hmm.
and it's been something that he's fallen into and done really well at. And then brothers you knew from the sandbox, so people that you knew way back when, they'll do you the dirtiest when the time comes. If they have something selfish or they need something from you, they could do you over bad. So yeah, I think overall this track is dope. Those were just some bars I wanted to highlight
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, I remember especially the first time I listened through the album, I was like, wow, this is already so good, and I haven't even gotten to the Lauryn Hill verse yet. I was like, I was like astounded at like how good it was, and like I hadn't even gotten to like the thing I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I gotta mention here on. I'm pretty sure it's Kanye on Late Registration. There's a Nas feature. He's saying I heard the beat and I ain't know what to write. Uh
Hmm.
Something. Both flows would be nice. It's got to be on what Celebration, and
No, no,
because
no. I think that's.
our what's that track I'm thinking of on Late
I'm
Registration?
forgetting the name of that. It's not Gone, is it?
Nas. Wait.
No.
Kanye
that
featuring Nas.
that annoys me
Whoops.
that I'm forgetting that.
We'll find it here. Late registration. I'm determined. We major. We major.
Oh, okay. Duh. I should have known that one. I love We Major. That one's got like a bunch of great verses throughout that whole thing.
Yeah, I gotta pull it up here. I heard the beat and I ain't know what to write. First line, should it be about the hose of the ice? 4 flows a black Christ. Both flows would be nice. Rap about big paper or the black man plight. And so it's sort of like a meta commentary of what should I think about? What should I write
Mm.
about? And he says here, third verse, and I knew what to write. They say I'm a legacy artist. I blew up the price. 30 years later, who would a new dude would be nice? I hit the tables and I threw up the dice. So it's sort of a reinterpretation, interpolation of this verse that he did on Kanye's album, and honestly, Kanye's best album, if I do say so myself, Late
That's
Registration.
crazy.
So yeah, I had to point that out because I didn't know how
Mhm.
many other people would have caught that other than me because I've just listened to We Major a million times probably. Hype
Yeah.
like the first
Dang,
time I
yeah, I
heard
didn't
Nobody
even
Beats the
notice you there.
Biz.
I'm disappointed in myself as a Kanye fan.
No, you shouldn't be disappointed in yourself.
Yeah.
It's just something
Disappointed
that
in myself as a.
I had to share with you in case you didn't know and share with the audience as well for the Boom Bap Brews
Uh,
podcast. So yeah,
it's
those
dope
times bring
though.
me to tears, moments you can't relive, moments you can't relive. And I love how that came in, moments you can't relive, talking about specific times. You know, I mean, the chorus says
Hmm.
it, specific times where it's like, wow, this is like a euphoric or a great experience. And harkening back to that, and everyone can relate to these for the most part. So, yeah, this is just an amazing track, moments,
Hmm.
and I don't think Nas has like missed at all on on this project so far. Like there have been maybe that YKTV track I didn't like too much, and then
Hmm.
maybe one that I didn't, you know, listen to as much or want to go back to. But as we get into track number 9, Nobody featuring Lauryn Hill, this is probably the most hyped up, other than the Eminem track, feature on this album. So take it away, Al.
Yeah, Nobody I thought was amazing. Like n- even before getting into Lauryn Hill's part, I thought Nas had some great bars throughout his whole verse. And then Lauryn Hill is insane. She sounds just like she did from the 90s. Like she sounds just like how she used to, and she's just in that same, like she's picking up right where she left off in that same stratosphere as like one of the greatest rappers of all time. And yeah, it is just ridiculous how good she is on here. And I love the whole saxophone part and the beat at the end as it rides out. And yeah, this is may be my favorite track on the whole thing here.
I would not be surprised. I think this definitely goes in the conversation of one of my favorite tracks just this year that I've heard, I think. And I think it's absolutely genius that these two connected and were able to share
Hmm.
both of their perspectives on the fame and all of the things that come with success when releasing music in the industry. And Miss Lauryn Hill impressed in the best way here with her return, because she hasn't really been able to release too much solo music, as there's been stuff with personal issues and different things that have been going on in her life. She hasn't really been putting out solo music like that since her most revered album, obviously the Miseducation. So coming right back off of that style and that cadence that you'd expect from her, she sounds amazing, like you said, straight out of the 90s. And it's just a super welcome extended verse. I think Nas really rolled the red carpet out for both her and Eminem and gave them quite a lot of time, didn't he? Like way more than just a regular verse that you would expect.
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and jump into
Yeah.
the bars here. I mean,
I feel like they
the
would definitely both
instrumental,
had like a lot of room to talk there.
yeah, the instrumental is just so smooth, and how they mix in the ooh and the singing, and the drums are just perfectly mixed. And Nas comes in. If Chappelle moved to Ghana to find his peace, then I'm rolling. Where the service always roaming, I'm packing my bags and going. It's a challenge in that it's a balancing act. Visit beautiful places, that's more out here than the trap. Houses in Long Island that always found them. House in the South, barely got out. Sunny LA, remember calls with Dr. Trey. He told me, don't let the palm trees fool you, be safe. So he's talking about all the different places he's been, he's lived, and even when he's been on vacation, how it's hard to balance between going to these beautiful places and going back to his home where he's from and where he's going to live. And the title of the track, Nobody, really plays into the fact that neither of these artists, because of how greatly famous and successful they are able to really go anywhere where someone doesn't know them, unless it's overseas or, somewhere more remote. And so it gives them a lot to play with, just having that concept be introduced here. And I thought it was funny here. Nas says, gotta log out of IG, can't be my age DMing. No kidding, it's hard to move like a civilian. I write the truth because I live it. Yeah, he's just going off. And he comes in for the second verse, talking more about traveling and, enjoying what he's able to do as a successful artist. And he said, this girl said in Grenada we should go get married, broke down the meaning of the Virgin Mary. And you got your own place. My favorite part of the night, when you text me that you made it home safe. I'm home. So I thought that was wholesome bars. And yeah.
That was one of the bars that definitely, yeah, I like the wholesome bars.
You enjoy the wholesome stuff the best from Nas?
Mm-hmm.
So Lauryn Hill has a lot to say on here and touches on a ton of different topics. From the beginning, she says, all my time has been focused on my freedom now. Why would I join him when I know that I can beat him now? So talking from a place of confidence, as any MC should. They put their words on me and they can eat them now. That's probably why they keep telling me I'm needed now. So she's saying, yeah, I've heard the calls. I know that people are saying that I should come back. And they tried to box me out while taking what they want from me. I spent too many years living too uncomfortably, making room for people who didn't like the labor or wanted the spoils, greedy, selfish behavior. So people trying to live off her success and her talent. So just getting into here, she's talking about a lot of different things in her life. And I just like having that experience and that perspective. I just really value it and enjoy listening to music like that.
Yeah, I feel like she totally on this verse. It's like, yeah, the industry needs me. Like, I don't need it.
I don't need to turn myself into a parody. I don't do the shit you do for popularity. So she's not watering down her brand or her image. She's not trying to become a parody of herself and overdo it. She is keeping the integrity of an artist. And I mean, we gotta respect that. We gotta condone and appreciate that. Yeah, here we are walking to the hole you dug yourself. Fuck a projection. See me in my freedom, taking all my land back. They sent a lot against me, thinking I'd just stand back. I got my legs beneath me. I got my hands back. A lot of people sabotage. They couldn't stand that. So she's just going off, and the flow here is dope. And as she continues,
Mm-hmm.
the ditch you dig for them, you might just end up in yourself. I'm in the secret place. I keep a sacred space. They keep showing their hands but hiding their face. If I'm a messenger, you block me, then you block the message. So aggressive, the world you made is what you're left with. Pride and ego over love and truth is fucking reckless. Y'all got a death wish. The stupid leaves me breathless. So just a great way to just drop the mic on them after a dope verse. And I think specifically, if I'm a messenger, you
Yeah.
block me, then you block the message. Talking about sort of texting and modern technology, how you block people and you're able to get away from certain content and people that you're not trying to interact with. So the annotation here says, assess the information given, not the messenger. The method prevents unintentional discarding valuable information along with bad information. So I sort of interpreted it as, if you are getting offended or getting to a point where you can't accept or have a conversation with a certain person, then you need to be more focused on what was said and not specifically the messenger or who's the one saying it. Because if you block me out, then you're gonna miss valuable information such as this. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think this is a dope track, like all around exactly what I love to talk about in hip hop.
Yeah, no kidding. Just a couple of legends just completely showing why they are who they are on here. Gosh, and after here, we have another great collab with Uncle Charlie Wilson coming in on here on No Phony Love, which, it's Charlie being Charlie on here, coming through, adding a complete layer of smoothness and silkiness onto this whole track. And it was great storytelling by Nas in the verses, and the hook is just completely infectious. I just think it blends together really well, and I like this collaboration between the two more than their song together on the first King's Disease. I think this one's even better than that one.
Yeah, I could see why. This was a pretty good concept, and Charlie's singing at the beginning was so smooth, and how they interpolated it later. I mean, I'm going to keep congratulating and thanking Hit Boy, because he's really accomplished something here with how in the chorus Charlie
Mm-hmm.
also comes in again, and they mix it beautifully with the mix that we're given in the instrumental. And so, as I was saying, the singing in the beginning turns into a sample that comes in, and it's chopped up underneath a dope drum break, so some real hip hop stuff. And then in the chorus, there's some bass that also hits underneath, and it gives it sort of a grand feeling that we've been
Mm-hmm.
needing a little bit on this project. It's had a lot of dope vibes, but sort of constructing a grandiose feeling is definitely a process. So I think that they accomplished that here on No Phony Love.
Yeah, no doubt.
Some bars we got to give to you here. Quiet storm on the radio putting me in the zone. I got questions in my text. When am I coming home? You laid up in the Supreme tea. You love my Tuscan cologne. I'd be excited to see you like I just don't leave you. I'd be excited to see you like I just don't leave you. So talking about, this is a romantic track. He's addressing his love life, and Nas has had a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
flames and romances, so he's sort of getting through some details and sharing a bit about that on this one, and getting sort of intimate. You perfect, but I might just be married to music for real. I could relate to that. Life is not what you harp
Mm-hmm.
on or what you go through. She bopping her shoulders like the darkest one in total. Go boo. Women with good energy, the ones I'm close to, and I already
Yeah,
rolled
I
two,
like the
waiting for
part a
you to
little
roll
later
through.
here
The Pedialyte bar?
when it gets to the I'm hungover from light. Yeah, the Pedialyte.
You enjoyed that?
Yeah, did the drop 30 at Louis like shit there. I thought that was huge funny stuff there. It's like,
He says in the outro, you know us Virgos, all picky in our heads and stuff. Love is trust. Trust is love. Trust is love. Love is trust.
oh my gosh. Of course, Nas.
All right, so we're on to track number 11, Brunch on Sundays. And This was one of my least favorites from this project, but I thought the concept was still a decent idea, and I understand the sentiment behind it a bit. And there's definitely some soulfulness on this track as well, with how the piano's used in the beat,
Mhm.
and the chorus just didn't really mesh on this one for me. But what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I thought this one definitely gave me like I'd say it was probably my least favorite up to this point in the album and probably on the whole album, but it still made my playlist. I thought it was all right. It kind of gave me vibes of like the Chance the Rapper, the Big Day album, like
Hmm.
where it's kind of like wedding, like background, like adult rap music kind of. But I thought that was better than a lot of the stuff on there. Like the album still had some good songs I enjoyed, but yeah, this one gave me like a similar vibe to that, and I thought it worked out. It was kind of like dad rap where he's like, oh, just talking about how much he loves having brunch on Sundays and like just getting to relax and everything. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a very 40 something of him. But I think it's compelling because you don't see that perspective in rap that often.
Yeah, I think Nas finds a way to make it compelling. It's just not my favorite. I mean, he goes, "That's brunch on Sundays." I just didn't really enjoy that part. And then the verses are shorter here and just quicker. He's definitely got some like good bars and one-liners to get your attention. So yeah, you can just see it's a mix here of
Hmm.
that, and then verse 3, that's brunch on Sundays. This one's different. It's the good guy mixed with American pimp shit. I got Birkin money, but the Teflar carry different. That's a black business. I handle my black business. So he's got some knowledge on here and some bars here as well. And I like told her check her Zelle account. There's a blessing in it. So he's
Oh yeah,
just
I like the
tossing some
line right
money.
after that. Oh my gosh. No, with the line right before that though is the tight one, the one that's stay out of black woman business unless you invested. Yeah, that one's tight.
Yeah, that's a dope dope couple of lines there he's got on that third verse. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, this was a little bit of filler to me. It was track 11 out of
Hmm.
15, so um, yeah, some people like it, some people won't, but wasn't our favorite from the album.
Yeah, from there we're already going into number 12 here, Count Me In, which really switched the vibe back up where no phony love and brunch on Sunday, a little lighter. The last couple of years, Count Me In, he's like, all right, let's get back into the feel here, getting back in the trenches of really cool beat, really cool drums on there, and Nas just spitting like how he does it. Like it was really good getting back into that on this song.
Yeah, I am gonna say it now. I think this is a new classic for Nas. Like, I think it really goes to show how he can just approach hip hop from a totally interesting perspective still after so many songs and albums that he's put out. Like, isn't this his 13th studio album? So it really just goes to show that hip hop you never really age out of. And it's harkening back on experience that he's been through and just gives us a really dope soundscape. And he's talking about some different topics on here in the lyrics. So let's go ahead and jump into those. Turn it up, let the radio blast. This
Mhm.
is a movie, can't watch it on HBO Max. So HBO Max has been doing their movies simultaneously releasing in theaters and on streaming this year, 2021. So funny bar, that's timely as well to go into the beginning of this song. And the chorus, just count me in, and it's just super dope to ride out to. I think this would
Mhm.
definitely bump in the whip. He's saying, ain't worried about none of them. They bleed how I bleed, suffering from the symptoms of King's disease. Can't let the bright lights go to your head. I watch my day ones go to the feds, saying that everything that comes with success and fame, you can't let it go to your head, and you got to be careful. You got to stay out of trouble and know that you're not, you know, you're not untouchable and you're not without faults. There are symptoms of King's disease. You can suffer from success.
Mhm.
And that was just a good point that he's able to make here in Count Me In. So track 13 is Composure, and this is actually the 13th track. and it features Hit Boy on the first verse. So he's been producing this whole album so far, and he's
Hmm.
finally coming in to actually speak and actually deliver some rhymes. So I think that this was definitely a welcome feature from him, and super smooth with horns and just a little production. Percussion and drums when Nas comes in, not too crazy, and then the drums actually hit at like the perfect time. I think Hit Boy just builds up to that really well under Nas, and his storytelling here is also just a master class. Like, you have to know that when you're listening to Nas, you're gonna get really dense and good concepts to break apart and talk about. But how'd you like this track number
Hmm.
13, Composure, Al?
I was a really big fan. I thought Hit Boy definitely earned his feature here. I was like, dang, after just cooking the first like 12 tracks on the beat and this one too, I love getting to hear him come in and like actually like getting to rap on there. And he held his own. He did great on a track with Nas there. And yeah, like I felt at this point in the album with how Nas is doing it, like I felt this is the point where I felt like he was just kind of showing off. It's like he's just running the numbers up.
For sure. I think they just cooked up so many tracks together. It's like, well, we're going to put it on King's Disease too, right? Like, it just going out. Like, we're going to give it to the fans. So I just thought it was dope that Hit Boy came
Hmm.
in. He had some dope bars for sure. Before you shut me down, let me reach my level first. Y'all be too proud to do the devil's work. All that acting and faking, I can't take part in it. I'm washing my hands with the soap opera shit. I definitely relate to that, and I think that Hit Boy's on to something, talking about being
Hmm.
authentic and don't fake it to be nice and gain the admiration of others. Just be yourself. And Nas comes in here as well. I made up songs. I was like humming tunes 10 years later, writing in my room 10 years after that on stage, like it's too soon. But yeah, and he's talking about how his parents met and going into even more before
Hmm.
the longer outro here, and gives you a bit to think about. But overall, Composure is definitely just them showing off how great of a combination these two collaborators are together.
Hmm. Yeah, I really like that one. And yeah, throughout this whole album, both these like producer like and artist, DJ and MC, like they're just at the peak of their powers on here. And that it continues on through My Bible here, track 14. And I think I like this one even more than Composure. Like, I feel more like how you felt like on Count Me In. I feel kind of that way with My Bible here. I thought that Nas really had a cool concept and how he had great bars from the three different like chapters that he broke the verses up into. So I thought that was really cool, and I thought all the knowledge that Nas dispersed on here was like really poignant and really timely and worked out like together between all three of them really well.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed the production on My Bible with how it had the organ sounding piano sample that they looped, and then Hit is just going off with everything that he's
Hmm.
showing here, and Nas is spitting some wisdom. But I'm curious to hear from you, what lyrics you like the best out of the different chapters, if there's anything specific you wanted to highlight.
So as I remember back to it, what always draws me in is like the women chapter. I thought had some of his best bars. The third one on there, where he's
Yeah.
all talking about like how to treat your woman with respect and everything.
Somehow you the most unprotected on
Yeah, talking
planet
about.
Earth. Your smile lift me up and your eyes kiss my soul. Your sweetness is honeycomb, such a lovely tone. You hold the power to make a house a home. Because of you, I want to right my wrongs, love. Kiss your mother, 'cause we only get
Yeah.
one. A grandmother's words to her grandson. Beautiful minds develop in time. Checks every
Mm,
month 'cause you held me for 9. So he's delivering money to his mom every month 'cause she delivered him and gave him to this
yeah.
world. They might see an image of a
Yeah. The
woman who's
whole time he's
flawed.
spitting on that.
Oh my, yeah, he's going off. But I see
Like
a
just
woman in the image of God. That's just fire.
wholesome Nas. I love it. Yeah, wholesome Nas I love. All him being an upstanding media mate.
He is an upstanding man, and I think he always has been a pretty decent role model in hip hop, even though he's gone through some stuff with baby mama drama and things. I do feel like he is a decent role model and someone people can listen to and brighten up what they're thinking about and get some new perspectives, think about things differently. But Nas is Good is the 15th track and the very last one on King's Disease 2 here. And as we're wrapping it up, man, I listened to this album so many times just trying to get through all the dense lyrical stuff and everything that we wanted to talk about on this album. And every time I got back to this track, I was just so enthusiastic and happy with the experience that was this album. Like, I really loved how they chopped up the boom bap beat here, and it's just classic hip hop stuff that I'll always enjoy listening to. And it just made me overall super happy for this duo getting together and doing another great project, and the fans, the listeners, just you and me getting to talk about it and listen to more great music from Nas and Hit Boy. So I'm glad that it didn't actually hit like a sophomore slump or differ in quality from the first one. It's keeping up that same level of great quality that these two musicians are putting together.
Yeah, I definitely dig how they did the beat on this last song here, how it was all chopped up and everything, and how Nas especially hops in on the part where it's like the broken down, where it's like stripped down part of the beat, where he's rapping on there before it comes back in. I thought that was awesome at the start of the second verse. And yeah, this song really brought it all back together. And like this whole project front to back, I was captured the whole time. And like it kept my attention and excited me my entire experience going through this album. And I was really impressed, and I feel like it definitely picked up where an already Grammy winning album came off from.
For sure. And I think it's worth saying that Nas is showing every artist in the hip hop space how it's done. And Hit Boy really is a great collaborator for him to work with and get some really great concepts and writing out of Nas. And being a producer and being able to do that goes to show how talented and great you are at your craft if you can get a master lyricist like Nas inspired with what you're sharing and getting out of him. But yeah, that wraps it up for King's Disease 2. For our review. The only thing left is for us to rate it. So if you're not familiar on our show, we use a 1 to 5 rating system from throw it out, wouldn't skip, playlist, add, recommend, or on repeat. And I'm definitely going to say I have this album on repeat. I listened to it a handful of times for this review, and I'm just going to continue listening to it as we get a great delivery from Nas and Hit Boy here. And I was just overall super happy with it and enjoyed it from the beginning to end. And there's going to be a ton of songs here I grab out in my playlist and listen to as the years go on.
Without a doubt, I'd agree. Mine, like, I've already had it in the recommend category, where like I've definitely already recommended this to other people who have been like seeking out new like hip hop. And but this is starting to creep towards the on repeat range, where like even like the songs I've put into my playlist, like even out of the album order, like coming up within the sphere of like my entire catalog, they're like slapping in there too. So they're great to pick up any point in this album and you'll find a good song.
Definitely. Well, thank you all for watching the Boom Bap Bros podcast. We appreciate you being here to discuss music with us and look into things that we enjoy, new releases, and different artists that you may or may not be familiar with. So we would definitely recommend you go check out Nas King's Disease 2 album. It's streaming now. You can catch it everywhere. And one last thing I wanted to point out was the release of this was actually on Nas' own label here, Mass Appeal. And so it was founded in 2014.
Oh yeah.
And his last Def Jam album was Lost Tapes 2 in 2019. So this was just really huge for Nas' independent grind. Like, it sold 57K first week. And so shout out to Hip Hop by the Numbers doing God's work here, compiling these stats for us. So this is the second highest first week for an independent hip hop project in 2021 behind NF, another independent hip hop artist. So yeah, I'm just super happy to see that Nas is controlling the distribution of his own music and able to profit more off of what he's doing here, creating great music for the fans to enjoy. So we will be back shortly. It won't be nearly as long a wait as it was for this podcast. Sorry, everybody. We've just been moving things up and switching around as Alec's moving off to college and I'm pivoting my own attention with business and other things. So just excited for more episodes as they come. If you have any recommendations, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Any thoughts for this album, we'd love to hear and reply to as well. So reach out to us. You can follow us everywhere. My name is Pat G. You can follow me at PatG563. And my brother, you can find Alec Galandi at Alec Galandi on all social media platforms. And then at Boom Bat Bros for all the updates regarding our podcast. So my name has been Pat G. Appreciate y'all listening.